Alright folks, I'm glad to bring you my infinite arc lash build. I'm literally at my 10th iteration with this build, and this is what I've come up with. It's got infinite cooldowns, infinite resources, and it doesn't use Frost Nova. Instead, we go with the Frozen Orb enchantment, and we spam a bunch of ball lightnings to trigger them. It's got so much synergy going on, it's insane. No words can describe how beautiful this is. I hope you enjoy. So I'm able to tear through dungeons 10 plus levels higher than me in a 4-man solo. To give you a frame of reference, 1 tick of damage from 6 lightning orbs equates to 1 meteor. Given the right circumstances, you can get up to 20 plus lightning orbs floating around, and this isn't even counting the ones on the ground, because we also take the ball lightning enchantment as well. So you've got heaps and heaps of DPS. Each time you teleport, you create mana. Each time you cast a ball lightning, it creates crackling energy. Each time crackling energy hits a target, it reduces your cooldowns. And the cycle of life repeats itself. This build definitely has a 1-up over the current Arc Lash meta build. Alright, let's get into the guts of this build. First off, we're going to go to typical Arc Lash, but we're only going to be putting 1 point in Arc Lash here. And this is where the build deviates a whole lot. The core skills here, we're going to be putting 1 in each of Frozen Orb, and we're grabbing Greater Frozen Orb. And this is how we're going to continue to have vulnerability applied on mobs over and over as we spam lightning balls and all of our other skills. We're going to put 1 point in charge bolts for destructive charge bolts, just for some extra DR or and survivability. Next thing, we're going to do the typical defense route of putting a point in each of our flame shields, but we're going to be changing it up a bit. Instead of going for shimmering flame shield, we're going for mystical flame shield. And this will allow us to go for mana cost reduction. So you'll pop flame shield and immediately go off casting a bunch of ball lightnings all at once. And then we'll go down the typical route of teleport. Instead, we're actually putting 2 points in teleport in this case. We're putting 1 point in elemental attunement, why not? And we're going to go for ice armor, enhanced ice armor. That is, while ice armor is active, we will have mana regeneration. And in this build, we are not going for Frost Nova whatsoever. We've got Frozen Orb. Next thing, for our conjuration, we're grabbing mana shield, protection, precision magic, as well as conjuration mastery. For our mastery skills, we're grabbing ice veil. And then, obviously, going for Devouring Blaze. Very good passive. We're maxing out Ball Lightning. When we're going for Enhanced Ball Lightning and Wizard Ball Lightning. This is how we're going to be grabbing a bunch of crackling energy, keeping us full, and allowing us to reduce our cooldowns. Then we're grabbing Hoarfrost, because Frozen Orb will continue to chill, and sometimes, most often times, freeze our enemies. And obviously unstable currents, nothing new there. And electrocution. This is another survivability passive. And then overflowing energy. This is how we're going to grab a bunch of our cooldowns and reducing our cooldowns quite a bit each time crackling energy hits. Now for our equipment. We're grabbing a basic skill, grant 20% damage reduction aspect. Obviously, this build really relies on Raiment of the Infinite. If you don't have this legendary armor yet, this build will not go online. Again, this build is an endgame build. So you're going to have everything gathered to have all the equipment and the build working. This is our triple dip damage aspect here. Each time they're immobilized, stunned, or frozen, you don't just deal 35% damage. You actually deal 105% damage if they're both immobilized, stunned, and frozen. Very good aspect. Next thing, obviously, the armor. Very, very good. Very good aspect. Cannot do without it. We're also putting 4 ranks on Ball Lightning. This is obviously our damage skill. And everything else is DR. Now, the boots. We are not going the traditional route of chill boots or however other classes are running. We're actually grabbing teleport ranks because we want our teleport cooldown to be very low. We're grabbing mana reduction for obvious reasons, and all stats, which I will go over in Paragon and why we need that. But what makes this build pop is this aspect Flame Shield, and when Flame Shield is active, it immobilizes because of our passive here. Whenever enemies are immobilized, you deal 150% more bonus damage to them. So, very good. You generally will be saving your Flame Shield for elites or bosses in general. That way you'll just tear through them real quick. So you don't just pop Flame Shield whenever, you're just kind of popping it whenever you have an elite on you. Frozen Orb. Now this is the Frozen Orb aspect explodes twice basically, and we're only using the Frozen Orb really to apply vulnerability more often. Now if you go back and look at how the skill Frozen Orb works here, whenever it explodes, it has a chance, not a guarantee, a chance to apply vulnerability on them, right? So by having it explode, 3 times, it increases the chances of applying vulnerability. And since we're casting so many skills, about 1 in 5 casts is going to pop a Frozen Orb. For our amulet, we're going to actually put a Crackling Energy aspect to chain additional targets on our amulet. Now, if you don't know this already, the amulet grants 50% more bonus to an aspect. So it's very, very important you put this on the amulet. Cooldown is basically king, and this will allow you to spam more abilities, right, and get more mana, which I'll explain later. Now, we're obviously going down the road of getting mana reduction, cooldown, our mastery skills, Devouring Blaze, all that. That's kind of self-explanatory. For our rings, first thing, obviously, ball lightning orbits around you. We're grabbing critical strike chance, critical lightning strike damage. Obviously, critical chance, critical damage, and vulnerability. Same thing for the second ring, but we're also grabbing the cooldown restores mana. All right, so on top of the fact that you're spamming ball lightning, right? Ball lightning is not a cooldown skill, so by spamming ball lightning, you are not gaining mana. Casting other skills, especially teleport in this case, is going to do a lot of mana restoration. On top of that, in Paragon, where we have actually a legendary node in Paragon where when we pull things together and stun them, we also gain mana. So on top of the fact that you casted teleport, you gain mana because it's a cooldown skill. You then, after you teleport, right, this is where Ramana Infinite pulls things towards you and stuns them, and then the Paragon gains you another mana. So I'll go over that in a bit. And our focus, we're going to two one-hander in the focus route for the cooldown reduction. Lucky hit isn't necessarily that important. That's why we have a dagger for this one. But we're going for the 40% stun here, which gives us the most amount of damage compared to all the aspects we could possibly choose. Now, if you notice that we're grabbing this lucky hit 5% chance restore primary resource, this can be also grabbed on the gloves as well. The gloves has this stat as well, and this will allow you to spam huge amounts of ball lightnings. Crazy amount of synergy. Now, for the skills that we're going to be using, right, we're obviously going to be using Teleport. We're going to be using Arc Lash, right? This synergizes well with the Unstable. Every time you're casting Arc Lash while unstable, you are creating more skills, which potentially is another ball lightning. And when you have mana, you will always cast ball lightning, right? Whenever you have downtime, you'll be casting Arc Lash, right? Next thing, Flame Shield, Ice Armor, self-explanatory here. Now the enchantments here, we're grabbing ball lightning enchantment. Every time we crit, we're creating a static ball lightning. Next thing is the Frozen Orb. Every time we cast a non-basic skill, right? That means we have a chance, 20% chance. It's flat, by the way. It's not a lucky hit chance. It's a flat 20% chance to create a Frozen Orb. Okay, so basically the idea is when you teleport into a mob, there's a very high chance, as if the teleport didn't trigger Frozen Orb, that as you're spamming, Flame Shield, Ball Lightning, right, and all the other skills, that a Frozen Orb will be casted, landing on the mob that you just pulled towards you. Okay, and when the Frozen Orb picks a random target, right, to cast it. When it reaches that random target, it explodes. It doesn't just go off into the infinite forever and explode in some Narnia place, right? So that's how Frozen Orb mechanic kind of works. Now onto the Paragon here. The Paragon is a very big deviation from normal meta Sorc builds. And some of the important ones is obviously I'm grabbing 6 boards here, right? And you'll notice that I'm grabbing the Unleash glyph, which not a lot of Sorcs use, but I think this is kind of underutilized with what it can do. Because this is the 6th board, a lot of things become very expensive, and the yellow nodes, you cannot unlock the bonus effect of as much because it requires too many stats, right? So by upping the blue nodes, in this case, we get 150% bonus to, I guess in this case, magic nodes or blue nodes. All right, on this particular board, we're actually getting double the amount, or more than double the amount of dex and willpower, right? So there are 2 blue nodes here for willpower, and then there's, I believe, 2 on dex. Yeah, there they are. So 2 on dex. So with that, this allows us to actually unlock the bonuses on all our yellow nodes. You notice how all of these yellow nodes, even the 5th board, has all the bonus effects unlocked. So with that, I go down this modification or basically this order of going to Burning Instinct, Icefall, Frigid Fate, Static Surge. This is all kind of, you've seen these before in other Sorc builds. But and another thing to note is we're actually grabbing Static Surge legendary node here, and this is what actually stuns and gains mana for us. All right, so just follow this setup. If you don't know already, the link to the build planner is in the description, or will be in the description. So hopefully you give this build a try. I certainly had a lot of fun with this build. If you haven't already, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting a updated video in the future once I start pushing higher tier dungeons. And hopefully you all guys have fun, and see you around.